to sew this morning. I'm going to give people a few minutes to get in and connected as I was late. Um, Not sure who's showing up this morning, but I'm looking forward to anybody who comes. Today I have put together, I've re-put up on my design wall, like I sent out in the email, the blocks, and I do desperately want your opinion on the layout. You don't have to tell me like move block here. That might be hard doing that in the chat, but you certainly can. I'm not offended about, sorry, fixing something. Not offended by anything here. I just want to know your input as to where I put the blocks. I should have taken a picture before I took it down, but then I wouldn't have been done because, as you will see, hold on. I have an extra block, not even the one I made that I didn't like. So maybe I'll stick them on the back randomly, sort of stick these two blocks on the back. I think that would be kind of fun. So, but anyway, okay, I'm going to turn it around so you can see. I don't see anybody here yet, but I'm going to turn it around. It'll be there, so when people watch it, when you guys watch it later and tune in, let's see, I can get farther back and you can maybe see the whole thing there. That's a good angle. Square on it, probably. I wonder if my cords reach this far back. There we go. Nope, this way. I can never tell which way to move it so everything's in there. I'm just going to hold the laptop. Okay, so there it is. Let me come out here. This is crazy. I'm unplugging the mouse. I don't really use the mouse anyway. Okay, there it is. All my blocks. The light sort of makes it glary, but, and then there's the bottom. You really are seeing the whole bottom and the whole quilt. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I should move things around. I know it's kind of hard with the glare there. Good morning, Laura. Tell me what you think. Oh my gosh, kind of crazy. All right, I'm putting you back. Then I have switch this around. I have cut out the signal flags. I'm going to show you the stuff before I tip you down and start sewing them. So, okay, a while ago, as Phyllis was closing out the store, she found this on her desk, and it's this U.S. Navy signal flags, which I've seen before, and other people have made patterns. I don't know anybody to give them credit for it, except the person who put this together, which is, I don't think she's any longer in business because I was looking for her. In My Needle's Wake, it's called, in memory of Claire McCaffrey. So she does have an email address, but I went to the website that's on here. It's inmyneedleswake.com. And this was done in 2015, and the URL was no longer in use. I couldn't find it, and she's got pictures. She made pillows from them. So basically what she did, which was super helpful to me, is they're all given, I think that's better, no glare. She's divided them in fractions. So if you make a 6-inch block, you follow the top row. So the smallest block she does is 6 inches. I've done smaller ones, but then I'm gonna do the for the sign, I'm doing 6 inches. For the signal flag quilt that I made, I'm doing I did 6 inches. So Laura, that's my own layout. I just made that up. Totally made that up. Threw them up there, made it so that they all fit on that quilt. I was gonna do one of the other ones, but I'd have to finish more blocks. And this way, this fabric is called Ebb and Flow, and it will go with my show that's starting on September 26th. And by the way, Laura, the show's going to be online, so you can see it. You don't have to come. I'd love it if you came, but Corona, I totally get it. So, and they are only we don't have an opening for the show. We just, we can invite, we can have a time when family comes through. So I don't know what we're going to do, but they're going to have it. You can come in and see to the Hooper and see it live. And I'm going to make all my Quilty friends family so that I can create groups that come through, and I'll go through with them if they want. And the but I have to photograph everything, and I have to photograph it in a specific way, and I have to text Nora about getting everything photographed. Maybe we can spend a day and just photograph all hers and all mine, and maybe their son, who's a professional photographer, might come and do it, but I'm not holding my breath. So, in which case, we'll just hang them on the quilt racks, take turns hanging, just hang them on the quilt rack, or I'll just do mine at home. We'll see. Anyway, I digress. I just put them all up there. I want to sew them together. It's not going to be that big, and we can decide whether there's a border. Let me just grab my tape measure. Okay, so without seams, without sewing it together, it's 45 inches. And there's 1, 2, 3, 12-inch blocks. That's 36. Plus 6 is 36 is 42. So it's 42 inches by okay, so it's 51 without seams, and it's 1, 2, 3, essentially 4. So 48. I think that might be a good size. So just by itself, but I think I may put a narrow border of the background. I don't know. I'll get it all sewn together by next week. I'll put it back up unless I decide on my own before next week. Who knows? But now, today, I'm working on the sign because everything on the live stream from now until I'm all set with the show is going to be about making pieces for the show. So, actually, before I show you today's, everybody, I have more questions. All right. So, Nora Falk and I are doing a challenge. This piece is going to be 36 inches square, so not very big. Just a little wall hanging we're going to put up. So we have to use a recognizable amount of all this fabric here. Nora gave me this one, and this one. It's a panel. I gave Nora, our husbands actually picked these out. Okay, so Alexander picked these. Peter, my husband, picked this one. Wine corks, nice. And this one, these funky birds and eggs. I think, so this is what my first thought was, and I think I'm going to try and put it together and not worry about what it looks like. So, remember I made this little pirate. Well, I'm going to remake him, make this the cap, make this panel has a stripe, so I'm going to put that stripe, well, it won't fit, so I'll put the stripe as the belt, octopus pants, a little stripe belt, and then maybe I'll see if I can fussy cut like some part of the birds or something, or put it on there. And then I will use a sky background that I don't have. I could maybe use that background for it all, but it's kind of dull. So I do have water though, so I may use a complete water background because I have a whole bolt of this, which is not fair to her, but but she has a whole bolt of hers, so I guess it's totally fair. I could use this for the background of him. And then I was going to make an island out of the corks and put a palm tree on it. put him standing so it looks like he's standing on the island. So some of his background will have to be corks, and some will be other background. And then I'll put like, that may be it. I mean, he's kind of big. Put his little island, put a palm tree going off to the side, and I can put the birds on there. I can fuse the birds onto the island. It's got to have food, right? To lay eggs. And then, so I'm gonna just play with that, see what I come up with. But making this banner is easy. Sewing these blocks together is easy. This is going to be hard. I have to have everything drop dead, photographed, done September 22nd. So all of a sudden I'm now like panicking. And no reason to panic, but that's the way it goes. All right, I have to put my glasses on to read. All right. Oh, I need a treasure chest. Oh, yes, I do. I think I have some. What would it be made out of? Wood, right? They wouldn't have had a metal chest back then. So I have to find some wood fabric. Like, so it should be sort of partially buried on the island. Oh my gosh, that's like such a great idea. Such a great idea. And then maybe like just a little sun up in the corner. 36 inches. I have to get big paper drawn out, but I'll make, can't make the pirate till I draw them on there. So much thinking. My brain is just going to be so tired. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we had a great weekend in Boston. Well, we only spent one night in Boston. It was totally awesome. We went, I hope you guys all had a great week. We went to Boston Yacht Haven, which is right downtown Boston. Not at the Rose Wharf area, but you know, Sharon, you'll know because of where we got our pizza and everything from. The Greenway, like there's Columbus Park, Christopher Columbus Park, beautiful green little sort of area right there. Anyway, the night sky was beautiful, you know, and it was super quiet on the dock. I guess they'd had wild parties the night before and we missed them. But we went out and watched racing, and then the first round of thunderstorms came through and we thought they were done. And then we look over at Boston and we can't see Boston anymore. It's totally covered in cloud and rain. So we decide we better head there so that next break we can zip in. And we totally, like, we had a few sprinkles. Like I hardly got wet. A few sprinkles, and we were in the slip. Boom. And then the sun came out, and our friends who came down on their boat, they were already there. They watched us come in. So, and we sat and visited with them and talked to other people that were walking around on the dock, and ordered way too much pizza. Oh my gosh, it was miserable. I haven't eaten like that in so long. And then the next day we walked into Boston for a little bit, walked around, got breakfast. And it was early Sunday morning, so we saw very few people. And then got back on our boat, went and watched the racing again, and came in just literally before such a strong storm that the lightning and thunder happened almost at the same moment. We actually thought, I think had our tree been up still, it would have been hit. It was like, and it was so loud, like I can't even describe how loud it was. Peter was standing at the sink and he said it looked like a hit right behind our neighbor's house, but we saw no smoke sign. Who knows? We don't really know where it hit, but incredible. We're supposed to have storms like that today, and it was clouding over when I started. So if we lose power, whatever, we lose power. So, oh, good, Sharon, you have wood. Oh, a trunk. All right, so back to the U.S. signal flags. So I've cut out, wrote out, brilliant, because you know, me and, well, maybe you don't know, but not the best speller in the world, and I wanted to make sure, sorry, picking things up, that I had enough letters, so I wrote out my sign, and I'm not sure how I'm going to lay it out. but how many of each letter I need: 2 B's, 2 Y's, 1 H, 3 A's. So we're going to get started. I'm going to make a couple flags, and we will take it from there, just so you can see how they go together. And I'm just doing them in the order that they come in the sign, by how many of that. I'm not going to like skip around and go back and make the other one. So the first letter is B, and it's kind of cool. It's super easy. And this is what I did. This is B right here. So you can see it has this triangle piece here. In here, we're putting the background. Sky fabric. It might look familiar, Sharon. Sky fabric. And this is my background for this one. Not the same as the other one I made. And then I'm using the same, I have bolts of these, red, blue, whatever. So this is just a rectangle. And it makes up 3/4 of the width. And I don't think I did 3/4. 1, 2, 3.5. I did half. So I have to recut this. It's a good thing we're talking about this. So, because this is only 1/4. But what I did do for this, to do the 1/4, is I made papers. I took the Carol Doak paper and I drew on it and I wrote where I want the red, and the only other color is the background. So, but before I do that, I'm going to recut these reds so that we don't have a boo-boo on here first thing. So I could do it simply. It's pretty easy to figure out 3/4, but I can show you that they have all the fractions on here. So half is 3, 1/4 is 1.5. So if I add those together, that is 4.5 inches. Then you need to add seam allowance, because there is no seam allowance in those measurements. So I need to cut a 5-inch piece off my bolt of fabric. So much for saying I had it all cut. You know, I was so tired last night. I finished this huge t-shirt quilt. They're always hard to do because the t-shirts are stretchy even with the interfacing on them. They're not super easy. And now I will just pull this out of the way and cut my 6.5 inch. So 5 by 6.5, because the flags are 6-inch square. So I have to cut the 6.5, and I'm taking the salvage off because I want the salvage off. Okay. So, and then after I cut this, I'll tip you down so that you can watch me sew them together. So I created my own paper piecing, and for the flags, for those, and there's 2. I have to do the A's, and the A is the only other one that is done that way. Okay. Put that up there, out of the way. Put my tape measure away, so I have space. And I have to make sure, have my husband double check that I'm spelling everything correctly. All right, here we go. And tip it down. Wake up my iron. Okay. So here they are. I should have 4 papers, because each 2 rectangles. I tried to do it just piecing, which I could do with the way Deb Tucker does. But to figure out all that math was harder than just drawing these papers. And it's just one seam. Clearly I'm sweating already. All right, so I have to put my stitch length down to 1.5. And I'm going to put the red on there, right side up. Let's not mess up. And then I'm going to hold this up to the light. So I'm just putting it over there. It's larger than I need over, but I have plenty. I made sure I had plenty of width here. And I'm just going to chain piece, put those 2 right sides together. I'm just going to chain piece it right through. Should have drawn that line right through the seam allowance, and it would have been easier for me to see where to go, but it's not hard. Just letting the line run right through my paper. We'll set the next one up, and this one has a little creasy in it, so I guess I will press this one first. Just to show you what a difference a crease makes. See how this is no longer straight? It comes out like this. It was cut straight. That's why you press them out before you accurately measure. It'll probably not even be in there, but you never know. With my luck, it might be. So I'm putting it so that the red covers where I said red, and the background's gonna sit on top, right sides together. And I'll flip it on there. What happens with the rectangle is it has to be offset where the seam allowance is, and that's hard to figure out. You think you can just go corner to corner like a square on the 45, but you can't. It doesn't work that way. So 2 more. Red covers red, and since I hopefully have plenty of fabric to do all this, it didn't matter. Could oversize it. And now that when I press these, one has to go one way and the other one has to go the other way. It's because they'll nestle where they sit together when we make the flag. So it's not hard to aim, but we'll see how they come out, how well I aimed. All right, run this baby through. Now, I don't want to stitch everything together 1.5, so before I forget, I'm putting it up to 2.0 because when we sew the rest of the pieces together, we need that. Oh, that's why it didn't pop up. I didn't have needle gun. Okay. It's wicked hard to rip out a 1.5. All right, so now need my add a quarter ruler right here, and I'm just going to fold it right on the seam and trim it. I hid. Don't tell me where I put it. It's on the ironing board. Just where I always put it, not. Okay, so cut them off and slide it over. And then see how fast? I mean, this is really fast, and I know they're right. I mean, the drawing the lines weren't that fast, but and you could print them out. They do. You can find online. But this way, they're exactly the size I wanted. Kind of fun to do, and sort of feel like I'm designing my own paper piece in that way. A little fuzz on my rotary cutter. Okay, to the iron. Now I'm going to lay these so that I have the ones that are oriented the same way. Red. This is the red. Oh, I did this one backwards. Red, that one's right. Good. Good for me, this one's right. So I'll press these 3. Actually, I can't flip them pressing until I take it off the paper. So I'm going to put tape on this one, but I don't have more paper to trace on. Okay. And now because I'm just that lazy and there's plenty on here, I'm going to just pull it off like this, and I'm going to just trim it, the stitches right off there, and I'm going to flip it so it actually is correct this time, and I have holes so I can line it up pretty accurate to the 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to stitch it right down. It's an easy way to fix a boo-boo, but the tape holds the paper together. Otherwise I'd have 2 pieces of paper and I wouldn't know where to trim the finished piece. Okay. Now it's right. So after I trim it, I will flip half of them. Oh, I should check that 1/4 inch, just because I assumed I picked a 1/4 inch. Slightly bigger, just a hair bigger. Okay. So now we're going to trim our piece. I like this darker line better than that white one to see with a 1/4 inch. Now, truthfully, I can put this 1/4 inch right in the center there. And I can cut 2 sides. There we go. One. Can you guys see? I think you can. 2. So there, that's what they're coming out like. Not a lot of brain cell activity required. I'm saving some of the bigger pieces just in case I need it for later. Because the last thing I want is for it to run out. I won't run out of the red, but it just sort of is the way it goes. Push them out of the way here. Last one to cut. That's what I get for looking up. All right. When I put the binding on my signal flag quilt, I decided to not make it get too big because I need some smaller size pieces in the show. I said I'm going to put that binding that has the flange on it. So I'm going to put a little flange of red, and then I'm going to put a black, like the binding black, and then I'm going to machine stitch it. And I'm rather than hand sew it, because you can stitch in the ditch right along the edge of the flange, and you know exactly where it's going to hit on the back. And then the back I have on there is super busy. It's dark. It's navy actually, so I'll use navy or black thread or red. You know, it won't show. What I'm trying to tell you is it won't show. So now we need this to touch against the flag like this to make the flag. So this is what the flag's going to look like right here. But this will shrink down obviously to the correct size when we sew these seams. But these one set of seams has to be pressed the other way. So I'm going to take 2 and press them the other way. You know what I find fascinating? How red changes color with heat. It happens on almost every red that I have used. Okay, so now we're going to flip this down like this and make sure those match up, and we're going to pray that it works. So here we go, and stitch this right along that seam allowance. I'm just nesting that right in there and stitching right along. Since this doesn't match up with anything and it can make some bulk, I'm going to press these seams open because they won't line up with anything. Now this is kind of close. Let's see, let's check this one. I like this one. Not so in love with this one. So I guess we have to take this one out. Not sure why that happened. No pins, you say? Maybe. If I wasn't hanging this on a wall where other people were, this was just for me, I might have not pressed it open, pressed it the other way. Not sure what I'm going to do with this when I'm done with it, but not too many people will be able to read it, which cracks me up completely. I wouldn't have been able to read it, so I'm not judging them about that. All right, so let's see if this is better. Feels better, maybe. I don't know, it felt pretty good before. Part of it is the bump is, it can ride over when it's facing this direction, so. If I'd come from the other direction, it might have been better. All right. Voila, much better. All right, pressing it open. Pressing it open. Not perfect, but better. Really. Not perfect, but better. Oh, interesting. You know what? I think my tension is not right. It's right there. It's fine there. Just on this one, it wasn't correct. Who's gonna look on the inside and it's not gonna fall apart? That's bad, but okay. Now we're gonna attach this right here. This I will pin. And we'll have two B's for by hand and by sea. And then we're gonna make the two Y's. So we'll have two words done. And I've been, on my Signal flag quilt, I put a space between them. So what I'm gonna do is put a narrow space between the letters and a bigger space between the words. That's my plan for the, unless I put each word on a different line. This one's a little, let's find the center because this is a little big. It won't matter the point because that will be created in the seam allowance. Not sure which is off. That one fit perfect. Just had probably had to do with my initial cutting. Oh, it's just one piece that's off. So this fit perfect up here. All right, as we stitch, let's get those pieces out of the way. we go. And check my tension when I flip these over. I don't know why it was off there. It's fine. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was pulling it or something. I don't think so. Maybe it didn't like the tape and the paper. It's time for me to take my machine to get cleaned by Dave at D&D anyway. I'm going to take it up there. Okay, there is the letter B. So I'm just putting this on to make sure. 6.5, and we are. And this one, I have to trim off the spot that did not go on theirs correctly. So that we have 6.5. All right, we have 2 B's. 2 buys. Now, let's take the paper trash and throw it away. The next one is it's kind of fun. It's tricky to make. Well, not really now that I figured it out, but it was tricky initially. It's the Y. Let me show you a picture of it before we start. It's this one right here. Y, by hand and by sea. So, it's 1/11th, I think, was the fraction. If I remember correctly. Yep, 1/11th. They're 3/4 of an inch wide, those stripes. And I'll keep the picture over here. Let's find out which one it's on. Right here, this one. Because it matters. It matters where the corners hit. And they hit in the middle of a red one. Everything matters on these flags. So that if somebody went and hung a flag somewhere and shifted this over, they'd go, nope, not a Y. Hopefully they, well, it's not SOS, so they wouldn't get in trouble. But I'm going to leave the picture popped up here. And then I just randomly cut lengths. The first time I did it, I tried cutting down, sewing the pieces together, and yes, I can talk, and shrink them down each time and put it on there, and I wasn't super excited about how it came out. I cut some of these shorter and some of these longer. So this time it took me 2 tries doing it that way. So this time what I'm doing is I'm going to, these are way longer than I need, and I'm going to just sew them down together and then put my ruler on there on an angle, because you only need so many of these. I counted how many of each color. Okay, here's the next set. Sure, we're putting them right sides together. I know that's flipped over, but it's going to get cut off. So. So now we're going to take this. I'm going to press this one. I'm pressing them all towards the red. It's just easier to remember. My machine definitely needs to be serviced. So you won't be able to see this because I don't think I can get it up close enough, but it stitched all the stitches straight, and then I put a little stitch over here, and then the rest of them went down straight down the middle. Pretty weird. So anyway, so now I'm going to put another longer yellow on the other side. And and then I'll press the other one. And we're just going to add, I'm going to count, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 reds that belong on there. So once I have 5 reds and a yellow on the outside of it, I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut it. And I'm making 2 because we need 2 Ys. Last time I sewed pairs and sewed pairs together, but since I'm making 2, I'm just going to keep adding. Okay. Here we go. Now we'll put a red on either side of these. Before I iron again, I can do more sewing. I think all my reds are the same length. Maybe not. I'm super grateful that Phyllis gave this chart to me. Whoever figured it out for that did an amazing job figuring it all out, which is awesome. Tickling my throat. Breathing in thread dust. So today is all about finishing all the signal flags. Kind of want to be done with them, making the flags themselves. I won't have the banner together because I won't decide that till you guys take a look at it. And then you can tell me straight across, unless it becomes obvious. I also have the floor plan for the show, and I want it to hang so that people can see it when they come in. It's going to be on the wall when they come in, along with our information about us. We have to put our bios down. I hate writing bios. Anyone want to write my bio for me? We'll have 3 reds on. I almost wondered if I could have cut 2 from this one rectangle without having to sew, just sew longer seams and cut 2 of them. But I didn't want to mess around this morning, and I wanted to feel like I was getting something done. So some of the flags have much more complicated stuff to figure out. The ones that have X's through the middle. And then look at this one, the 0 with the plus signs. I thought about doing 2020. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Think I should put the year on there? Sort of a monumental year, all that's going on. Kind of interesting. kind of mind bending or eyeball bending. All right. We could keep using these big ones until we don't have them anymore. And then we'll just use littler ones. I'm going to be sad if I measured wrong, just so you know, and it doesn't fit. We're going to get rain from the 2 storms. The one named after Laura. No. Never had a, I don't think there's, I have to look it up if there's been a Hurricane Janet. I don't think so. Or, well, Laura's a tropical storm. She's not a hurricane. She's going to be turn into a hurricane and get a new name. So Laura, you don't have to worry about doing all the damage to the coast because you're not going to be doing it. The hurricane is. I don't know what the hurricane's going to be. Oh, wouldn't that be? No, I think it's boys' names this year for the hurricanes. If it's girls' names for the tropical storms, I think it becomes boys' names for the hurricanes. So. That wasn't so successful. When I get up to iron, I'll pick it up. Okay, I don't think the fan is blowing down on me because now that my iron's up and working, I'm not getting cool. I wasn't hot because the room is cool in the morning. I'm gonna just get my fan. We're getting close. We're getting close. I had to move it to change the bobbin on my long arm. I didn't move it back. All right, here we go. Much better. Okay, we have one more set of red and one more set of yellow, and we can cut our square, and I've got to match it up so that the red is in the center and we make sure we hit yellow on the corners. So here's hoping. this. And the reds are done. And then we just have to add that little bit of yellow on there. Okay. Here we go. I don't need anywhere near this much yellow, but given that I don't know where it's going to hit, I'm not worried about it being too much. My foot pedal's falling off. There we go. This kind of sewing this flag like this reminds me of Eleanor Burns doing all that strip piecing. And you sew like miles and miles of 2.5-inch strips together for your log cabin or whatever. These are a little smaller, narrower, but it's the same sort of concept, except I'm building them on instead of just doing all the pairs. And all the sewing will be done on this block. All right. Oops, keep my foot pedal on there. All right, I'm not going to stack them to cut them, but here it is. And if I put this down the middle, the yellows don't quite fit on there. I think I need to put a wider yellow on there, even though it says they're all there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What does she say on the arrow? All stripes are 11th, 8th. Tip, always start by piecing the red center, which I did. Maybe I can stretch it. No. See if they're both the same. What if I don't do, no. All right, if I put this one in, they're just off. They might end up, it might end up in the seam allowance. It definitely will end up in the seam allowance. So you know what? I'm going to cut it because then I only have to sew that little yellow piece on. I don't have to rip the whole thing. Centering this down the center of the red. Now I can just put this on here like this. There it goes. There it is. There's one. And then it matters which way when you put the flag together, it totally matters which way the slant goes. All right. This one is a bigger bite. That one I will take out and make a bigger one, but I don't have to do it now. So, all right, we have 2 B's, well, almost. We have 2 B's and almost 2 Y's. I have to fix them, but they go, this is what the word, is that backwards to you? B-Y, oh well, or is it, anyway. All right, so I have cut another one, but I think you don't have to watch me sew it together. The next one is the letter, I'll show you. I'll bring the pieces over. Oh well, yes, I'm going to do it. H by hand. Because all I have to do, I have to make sure which is right side up. It's so hard with this white because there is a right side. I have to take it out of the bright light. Okay, so this is the right side right here. And all I have to do is sew these two together. How hard is this one? I don't think I can mess this one up. This is the H. I love it when they're simple flags. Now here we go. Press it to the red. I suppose I could mess it up. I could sew the wrong colors. So I got 5 flags done. Except I'm going to fix that one yellow. I don't know why so much bigger on that point than the other ones. Maybe I trimmed it differently. I don't think anybody's going to go there with a measuring stick on there. Jean's texting me. Hold on. So there it is. There's H. And I have to remember which way it goes. Left or right. H for hotel. White to the left. So anyway, the next is A. And I'm going to sign off before we do it, but that's what A is going to look like, just like making B. And here's the background and the blue that it's going to be, and the white, and I have the papers. And I have, how many A's? Let me see how many. Here's my little paper. I have 3 A's, so it'll be 3 A's that we'll be doing. So I'll leave my add a quarter ruler out. I'm going to tip you down so that I can sign off this way. Anyway, thank you for being here this morning, and I hope you enjoyed seeing the signal flags come together. Next time we get together, I should have them all done, and we can decide on orientation, unless I've picked that up and done it, and then maybe you'll have some to see. If I get it all done, you'll have some to see of my pirate and my island and my treasure chest. I'll have to get Jess to draw me a treasure chest. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Do you think the treasure chest should be open with gold spilling out? I don't know. That might be a little tricky, but it could be kind of fun. So anyway, I don't want to make it too complicated. So I hope you all have an amazing week. I will keep you posted on Phyllis. Watch for that in the email. I don't want to put it up on this because people may be watching that don't know her, and It's her private stuff. So I will keep you all posted.